Hi, Mary Ann. Thank you so much for joining us this evening to chat with your Lewis and Clark County Democratic Central Committee. As you know, but for those who aren't aware, my name is Quinlan O'Connor. I'm chair of the Central Committee right now. And I just want to put out an invitation to everybody who's here and everybody who may be watching this later to join us at our monthly meetings. We meet the second Tuesday of every month, currently via Zoom. So the next meeting will be October 13th. So we set these chats as a way for folks to hear directly from our great legislative candidates.
Yeah, Foresight, Montana.
Let me see if I can mute folks here. Always something. All right. So that they can hear from people like you, Mary Ann, who are running for office and you for re-election, and find out more about what you actually want to accomplish in the legislature, what you're proud of having done in the legislature over your last several terms. And this isn't the only opportunity for people to hear from you. So we are recording this, as folks are aware, and we'll post it online so that people can view it at their own leisure. They don't all have to be here at 6:30 on a Thursday night to hear from you. And I have been getting actually some email questions, which we'll be asking so that people who aren't able can still ask the questions of you. And if people who are here have questions, feel free to enter them in the chat box or raise your hand in Zoom, and we will make sure to get your questions answered as well. So, Mary Ann, before we really begin, can you tell us where House District 84 is for those who may not be aware?
I can do that. Hello, everybody. Quinlan, thanks for the opportunity. And this is an awesome service that Lewis and Clark Democratic Central Committee is providing. You're interviewing not just myself, but all of the Democratic candidates in the Helena area for legislature. And that's a wonderful thing that the Central Committee does. I'd like to put a plug in for the Central Committee. We do need precinct members. So I see folks who are joining us. Thank you for joining us. Please, you might want to consider becoming a precinct member of the Lewis and Clark Democratic Central Committee. And so hi, everybody joining. I see Susan, Sue Debris, Pat, Ellie, Dodie, Kev, and of course, Quinlan. So you asked me what my legislative priorities are for the upcoming session.
Well, first, just where is your district?
Oh, okay.
But then we'll get on to there.
That's right. It is the eastern edge, the southeastern edge of the city of Helena, and then on east through the city of East Helena, up to Custer Avenue in the north, and then south to the Jefferson County line. And I represent 10,000 folks, just like every other House member does.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for re-election.
Oh, golly, the Zoom was breaking up. And
why? Sorry.
Tell you myself. Oh, and why I'm running? Oh,
yes.
Well, I started this thing and I'm going to finish it, voters willing. And Debo just joined. Hi, Debo. Debo's a candidate for a house up in the Flathead area. But, I decided to run for the legislature back in 2013 when Medicaid expansion didn't pass during the 2013 legislative session. I never, ever dreamed of becoming a candidate. Always worked behind the scenes for candidates for the Central Committee. But I was testifying and got really upset when the chair of the committee, this is in 2013, shut down somebody right ahead of me who was bearing his soul about his health condition and not having health insurance. And that was heartrending. The fact that the chair shut this person down was not acceptable. This was the people's house. The Capitol is the people's house, and the public have a right to engage in their government. So I just decided then and there, I can do this. And, I had my doubts, but I had a lot of folks helping along the way, helped getting me elected. Some are on the call tonight. And so in 2015, we all pulled together and built a coalition and passed Medicaid expansion by one vote. So that one vote not voted could have been me had I not gotten into the legislature. Since then, you know, we've passed a lot of good pieces of legislation building coalitions, even though the Democrats have been in the minority, which is a joy. But not next time. We're going to flip both houses, as well as get Mike Cooney in the governor's chair and Rafe Grable in the Attorney General's office, and on and on. And it's going to be wonderful, and we're all going to get our priorities passed. But so in my last 3 sessions, we passed Medicaid expansion, and we extended it in 2019. We got a really good infrastructure bill passed to deal with our crumbling infrastructure throughout Montana, our roads and bridges. Bridges are downright dangerous. So we got the Heritage Center, Montana Heritage Center passed. We got some good mental health legislation passed. That's one of my big priorities. And there's still a lot more to do. So that's why I'm running. As you know, representatives can serve 4 terms, and this will be my 4th term, as I said, voters willing. And so I just want to finish what I started, and you know, that's to make sure folks have access to affordable, quality health care. I've got some stories to tell you about people who don't in our district. You know, living wage, if you work hard, you should be able to make ends meet, and you know, and public education, pre-K, affordable housing, and you know, we need to do something about the climate crisis. You know, we need a 21st century energy policy so badly to mitigate climate change. So there's a lot to be done, and that's why I'm running again.
Great. So how do you work with the legislature in its current form? I mean, obviously, yes, hopefully we shift it back to the Democrats, but how have you found working with Republicans to still get those major priorities that you talked about passed?
Well, fortunately, there are some Republicans that want to work across the aisle and understand that that's how policy is made, and that's how government is done. You know, we represent all people, all Montanans, regardless of party, and so you find those, and you find the common ground, and there's give and take. I mean, with the extension of Medicaid, we in 2019 we had to compromise. Representative Cafaro carried a very good Medicaid expansion bill, and her bill should have passed, but we passed a compromise bill, and the Republican carried it. Yet we still, at the end of the day, 80,000 Montanans now still have health insurance who wouldn't have had it been discontinued. Mm-hmm. So you find that common ground. I'm concerned because some of those Republicans, those moderate Republicans, have been primaried out. One is Representative Joel Crowder. I partnered with him on a couple of mental health bills, and a couple of them did pass. And he was primaried out, so he's not coming back, and that's too bad. The extreme conservatives are primaried, some of the more moderate, and so it really concerns me if we don't have a Democrat in the governor's office. That if Gianforte gets elected, you know, all bets are off as far as collaborating and working and getting anything done. We'll be purely running defense against really bad bills like we have in the past. Danny, thank you.
Some way I can check that.
repealing reproductive rights,
You get
guns in schools. I mean, you name it. I just shudder to think if we don't have Mike Cooney in that governor's office, the things that will be passed. So you can work with anybody who wants to.
So what are you hoping to accomplish in the upcoming session? I realize there's a little bit of variables there, you know, if Cooney's governor, it may be a little different than if not, and those sorts of things, but what are your priorities?
Yeah, it's really going to be, it's really a lot on what I can accomplish. And, you know, let me make it clear that working as a representative, it is not a solo sport. I mean, it's a team. It's a team endeavor. We all work together, and you know, within our Democratic caucus and across the aisle, you're not a lone ranger, and so a lot of things we accomplish, you know, we accomplish as a caucus and as a coalition. I say coalition because we had a coalition in Medicaid expansion with some of the Republicans as well. So I have such a long list of to-dos, and I know that some of them will never see the light of day. Some of them I'll introduce, and you know, they'll get passed if Mike Cooney's in the governor's office and we have a majority. Actually, let me rephrase that. If we have a Democratic majority, and you know, I still have hope, at least for the House, that we will. Well, let me just say, for the last 3 sessions, I've introduced living wage legislation, and I plan to do that again. You know, now more than ever, we need that in this pandemic. I mean, I think we've seen that the folks who had to go to work and were essential, many of them are some of the least paid in our state, and that's not okay. And they go to, in many cases, questionable working conditions as far as safety goes. You know, no paid sick leave, family leave, my gosh, no. Scrambling to find childcare. So we need, you know, I would just like to see folks who work hard get paid a living wage. I mean, with the pandemic unemployment benefits, folks who received the pandemic unemployment benefits did get more than many Montana workers. That says something about the low wages. Montana was among a third of the states where wages are less than what the pandemic unemployment benefits were. So that should be a wake-up call that we need to do something about what we pay our hardworking Montanans. So, also what I'd like to accomplish are some more pieces of mental health legislation. All 3 sessions I've introduced legislation to include evidence-based mental health prevention programs in schools, and according to the grade level. I'm going to try again. We'll see. And I introduced a Montana Climate Act last session, which I plan to introduce again, and hope to work with legislators on maybe some of the recommendations in the governor's climate solutions plan that recently was released. I know it's a priority of the caucus to get public pre-K. I hope to work on that. And then I have some constituent bills. Constituent bills are bills where constituents call me or talk to me and say, can you do this for me? And I have one that's going to be quite controversial. And it deals with an exception to mandatory reporting of abuses And in our code, I mean, there are mandatory reporters for, sex abuse, child abuse. Religious organizations are exempt, and that's not okay. They should not be okay. They should not be exempt from mandatory reporting. I mean, no child should be unprotected just because it's a so-called religious environment. And this is coming from me, cradle Catholic, but it's, not okay. And another exception that I like to deal with is we carried this bill. I call it Darcy's Law. We carried this bill last session and plan to bring it again. It has a little more backing. We've talked to the interim committee, Law and Justice Interim Committee, about it, which is deals with domestic violence and violence against women. Again, this would be an exception. In Montana, we have when you record something, you have to say, "Can I record you?" Or if it's in a private place. If it's in the public, where anybody can go, you can record. But so it's a two-party consent, and so there's no exception for victims of violence, domestic violence. So, a husband can be beating or sexually abusing the spouse or vice versa, right? I mean, and the victim sure can push play and record as evidence, but it's not admissible in court. In fact, the victim could be charged, and this happened in real life to Darcy. She's testified and her name is out there, and so we're going to try again to get that exception that in cases of domestic abuse that two-party consent is there's an exception added to that. And last session, I brought a bill that I want to bring again. The bill got amended quite a bit and turned into somebody else's bill. It's repealing the statute of limitations for child sex abuse. What my bill did, House Bill 109, it totally repealed any statute of limitations so that, let's say, an adult who had been abused as a child now remembers it, has gone through therapy and remembers everything. Well, there should be no statute of limitations, so there should be no clock on justice for children who were abused. So I hope to bring that again. And a couple other things I'm working on, capping the cost of insulin, working with some organizations on that, and fair taxation. I've always got a fair tax bill or two to make sure those big corporations pay their fair share. So yeah, that's just some of the things that I'm working on.
Just a couple of priorities, it sounds like. So one of the questions that we got from our audience is both parties appeal to Montana values. What does that mean to you, and how does it determine your legislative priorities, now that we know your priorities?
You know what, Montana values, what is that? Okay, so what does it mean to me? Nothing. I mean, I'm sorry, it's a slogan, sounds fancy. Montana value, I think look at human values. Human rights. I think I'll tell you what, I don't buy the Montana value thing. I think we just ought to follow the Declaration of Human Rights and stop this Montana value. So it doesn't mean much to me. Whether you're a Montanan or not a Montanan, there's really a common thread of what humanity cares about. cares about their family, their loved ones, being able to love who they love, justice, social justice, kindness, equity of opportunity. I mean, to me, these are important values. But Montana values, I think that's kind of shallow. Okay.
All right. Another question that I got leading into this, what can the Montana legislature do to promote jobs and support development of renewable energy?
Lots.
Do you have some specific?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. So for one, they could pass my Montana Climate Action Act that I introduced last session, and it never got out of committee. It is for a it's a carbon cost community dividend bill. So what it would do, it would levy tax, which I do not believe is a dirty word. It would levy a fee on carbon emitted, and the fee would be levied on the big emitters like industrial emitters, like coal strip and so the coal burning facilities and refineries. There's about 25 of them that fell under these different criteria in the bill, and that money would be funneled back into communities, especially energy transition communities such as Colstrip or East Helena. East Helena is still transitioning as a federal Superfund site, and many places around Montana. And it would have generated, with the 25 companies, it would have generated $200 million a year. I had various funding streams back to communities, some into the coal trust to replenish the diminishing revenue that's happening because we're not using as much coal. Thank goodness. But so that's one thing. Another thing is we have something really wonky called pre-approval that it doesn't even mean what it says, but what it is, it allows monopoly utilities like Northwestern Energy to pass all of the risks of investing in like additional facilities, like more of the coal strip, coal burning facility, pass all of those risks onto ratepayers, onto consumers. So they don't even have to weigh the risk because, hey, give it to the consumers, they'll pay for it. It's very unique in Montana. Most states don't allow that. So what we could do is we could repeal that pre-approval requirement. We could encourage renewable energy development in many ways. Gosh knows we give tax breaks to, we give a tax break. We give a tax break to, this really gets me, Signal Peak, which is Montana's only underground coal mine. We give a tax break for when they dig up the coal and bring it to the surface. They wash all the rocks and the mud and the stuff away from it before they ship it. We give a tax break for them to do that. And it just makes me laugh because, I mean, that's part of doing business, what they're doing, yet we're giving them a tax break for washing their coal before they ship it, which they would do anyway because it just adds more weight to the shipping costs. And, I use the analogy that we don't give our small businesses, let's say you're a restaurateur, we don't give you a tax break for washing your lettuce. But okay, back to your question. So there's a lot we can do to mitigate climate change. And we just need to start. We need to start. I mean, we're facing an existential threat. I mean, you know, we were breathing the smoke in recent days and watching the horrid sadness with the fires in Oregon and Washington and California. It's we need leaders with moral courage to do this. And some folks say I have that, others say I'm a fool, but I like the power.
Do you think that working on development of renewable resources and fighting climate change can be part of what Montana is doing to sort of recover the economy following COVID, assuming there's a following COVID?
Yes, I absolutely do. I mean, what better way to put people back to work than training on new technologies and renewable energy technologies? I mean, what an opportunity! And I absolutely do. I mean, it can be the new conservation, the new CCC from the New Deal, FDR's New Deal. I mean, it can be a present day New Deal and a green part of the Green New Deal. So yes, I absolutely do. You know, and along those lines, I also think that as we're building back, we need to build our connectivity in Montana. I think we've seen such an incredible digital divide, you know, magnified with COVID. Students who don't have access to the internet, so they're disenfranchised even more. We're just seeing the disparities in some parts of Montana. I mean, Kev Ham is on this Zoom, and you are a connectivity whiz, and you could speak to this. I mean, we really need to connect Montanans. Again, that's part of equity of opportunity for everyone. That's a Montana value. So, yeah.
That's a pretty clear one, yeah.
Well, I just want to say again, thank you so much for joining us, and we're getting to the end of our half an hour. It flew by. I told you it would be faster than you thought. But if people want to help with your campaign, what can they do?
Okay, everybody, you can wake up now. If you want to help with my campaign, first of all, vote. You can help everyone with their campaigns. If you vote, get everybody you know out to vote. It's so important. This election, as you know, I don't have to tell you. You know, I'm on the phone with constituents all the time, and they're discouraged. Some of them are behind our president. But anyway. You know, vote, and you can call me 461-5358, 461-5358. That's my cell. You could call or text or email me, Dunwell4hd84@gmail. And the 4 is spelled out FOR. And just, you know, please help. These last few weeks are critical. You know, people are going to be voting. A week from tomorrow, they can go to the Lewis and Clark elections office and vote in person. And then the following week, the ballots will go out. And you can encourage your friends, your family to vote early, get it in, send it in, because these authoritarian bullies that are in charge in our country right now are doing all they can to suppress your vote.
All right.
And we're not going to let that happen.
Absolutely not. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mary Ann, for joining us tonight. And
You.
thank you, everybody, for joining us as well.
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Be safe and well, everyone.
You too, Mary Ann.
Bye.
Bye.